Hey guys, Todd Huey here with Lone Star Bores, and today I am going to go over the proper settings for an Armasight thermal. What I have in my hands here is the standard Zeus 75mm from Armasight. It's a standalone scope. What I've noticed at the different events and talking to people on the email and PMs and stuff is that people are not using the full benefits of the custom settings or the enhancements in these units. They're either using the defaults, or when they're using the enhancement, they're setting up the scope wrong. So we're gonna go over those things and talk about that. The Armasight tried to do the defaults to cover as wide a spectrum as possible, but with thermal, the weather changes, you can get a better image if you go into your enhancements. Right now we have a light drizzle. It's in the 80s, it's daytime, high humidity. Say the next night it's 50 degrees outside and very low humidity, you're going to have totally different settings in the units. For example, your contrast, if you're going into the negative range when you're in white hot, you're hurting yourself. If you're going into the positive range when in black hot, you're hurting yourself. So, and of course, as always, I mean, everybody's eye's different. If it looks the best to you, then by all means do it. But we'll go over the basics of what I do and how I set up my scope when I go out to hunt to get what I think is the best picture possible. Okay guys, this is the Armasight Zeus 75mm. A couple of things I wanted to go over with you. Again, is your control panel here. You have your up, your down, your left, your right arrows, and in the center is your menu. That's how you're going to get into these settings. On the front here is your focus ring. That's where you're going to focus in on your target at different ranges. You're going to need to focus. On the back here is a diopter. Just like any other high-end scope, you're going to want to set this to your eye. I've seen many people using it thinking that that's just how it looked, and they've never set the diopter. The best way that I found to set the diopter on these is when you turn the scope on, if you look, it'll say Armasight in the bottom right corner, white hot, black hot, whatever you had it set on. When you're looking through it, set this diopter until you get that lettering the sharpest that it can be. And then from there, use your main focus ring to focus in on your target. But once you get this set to the lettering right, you should be golden and good to go. So those are the main things that you should be able to use. You don't have to go into the menu setting to use the brightness. Remember, up click, down click, on off, your diopter to set to your eye, and then your focus ring. Okay guys, now we're looking through the scope. What you see is my concrete driveway. There is and then some more trees, my Ford pickup truck. Whenever I start the scope up, I always go ahead and push the up and down arrow a couple of times and give it a couple of good nukes. Now, if you leave a thermal scope on, the longer you leave it on, the better the image is going to look. Now, of course, this one's on black hot. Before we go into the enhancements, I want to show something that I thought everybody knew, but several people don't. If you just barely touch the up arrow, each time you touch it, you are brightening the scope. See how you're brightening? You can wash it all the way out. That's your brightness up. And then the down arrow is the exact opposite. Don't hold it, but each click lowers your brightness until you can get it way too dark. So you want to go in and find that happy medium that gives you the best contrast and detail to your eye. Now again, we got a light mist coming down out here, so this is not your ideal for default settings. You'd want to go into your main menu, go down to enhancements, and here you have your contrast. Again, we're in black hot. Right now, the last time I used it, it was at -3. We'll go up to 0 and we'll take a look around. Now it would be better if you had a hot object to look at. That concrete is pretty warm out there, so we can use that and the bricks there. You can set your contrast all the way to -8. That looks a little washed out to me, so I'm going to go back. That -5 right there looks pretty good to me, and I mean, this is all eyeballing it and what looks best to you. I mean, I can go all the way down to 0. When you start getting into the positive range, again, that is for white hot. You shouldn't be going, you're really just hurting yourself if you get past 0 when you're in black hot. I think that looks really good right there. The sharpness, I usually leave my sharpness at 60 or below. Anything past 60, you start getting a little grainy. We'll turn it down here a little bit in the scope. You use your left or right arrows to turn it down, but 55 to 60 is where I always have it. I think that looks the best. You start getting grainy above that again. Your next down is the smart scene. I've gone all the way to 0, all the way up to max. I generally leave this at 24 to 25. I don't know. I've seen it help in some situations where things started getting washed out by the background, but it's up to you. You'll have to play with that one. Your gain is a new feature in the latest firmwares. You take it all the way down to 0, and you see you basically have nothing with this high humidity. As you come up, you gradually see, I think at about 15 is where things start to look best. Pretty much over 15, there's not really that much noticeable difference. Take it all the way up. And it'll start to get a little grainy on you. So I usually leave it set somewhere in the 30 range. I think 30 range is a nice happy medium. I really can't see too much difference after going to 15, but 30 seems really sharp to me. And I don't really mess with that too much. It usually stays the same no matter what the weather conditions are. Your automatic gain control speed. This is when you go to a hot object, say a hog comes out into the field. The higher that number, the faster it's going to fade out your background. If you turn it all the way down to the very minimum, which is 1, you're going to have a very slow, let's see, my car is hot there. You're going to have a very slow fade. So it's really slow to come back. You turn it all the way up. There's no need to really go high. We're up to 92. It's going to be instant. I like to leave it set at around 15 to 30. I don't want it to be so slow that when I come up on a target that it takes forever to kick in, or when I come off of a target for it to kick in. But around 15 to 30, so anywhere in between there is about perfect. And again, the reason for this is, say a hog comes along and it's behind those bushes back there. When this kicks in, you'll be able to see him back there in the bushes instead of the bushes still being really highly detailed. Got a couple of squirrels out here running around right now. So anyways, the main things to get your scope set up right, in my opinion, is always have your contrast right. I always mess with that. Leave the sharpness from 55 to 60. The smart scene, I leave mine set at 24 to 25. The gain at 30. And this, right, the automatic gain control speed from 15 to 30. Your main things that are going to get your image the best is this contrast setting. That is going to change depending on the conditions outside, and then your brightness. So you can set all this up, exit out of the scope, and here I'll do the brightness. We'll go up and then we'll go down. And as you can see, you can get it really dark and really contrasty, or you can get it almost, way blown out. And that's going to be how, depending on the weather, how you want it, and depending on if you're in daytime, nighttime, and how much contrast you want. On a day like this where it's really humid, you have to go down in the brightness a little bit. It brings out the contrast a lot more than what it would be needed if it was a cold night. Okay guys, I hope this helps somebody out. Remember, I know I've said it several times, but the most important things are your contrast. Always go in there and just go through the contrast and see if it can make that image better. The brightness adjustments, they will help you a lot between daytime and nighttime. If you just can't get that contrast, even though you can't see it through the screen or through the video recording there, it is very makes a huge difference in the screen when you're looking. The diopter, remember to set the diopter to your eye so you can get the perfect focus, and nuke the unit. When you start it up, nuke that unit several times. I use 2 or 3 times every time I start it up. Usually by the time I get up to the hogs or whatever I'm going to be shooting, I go ahead and nuke it once or twice more. That goes for any thermal. The Armasights, they have the internal shutter so you don't have to cover the lens, and they will auto nuke themselves, but it never hurts to hit it a couple more times to just get that better image. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Please like it. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please comment below. Thanks for watching.